Okay, so here we're going to look at burning fuels. That's just the first lesson of this topic that you'll be doing. So what do we mean by fuels? So a fuel is something that is a chemical substance, which is a chemical store of energy. So we can get energy out of it, we can transfer energy out of it. It's a store of energy. So, before we can go into that a little bit further, we need to do a little bit of a review of word equations and how we use word equations in science. So what do we mean by a word equation? Okay, so let's use the classic example of photosynthesis. So we've got carbon dioxide plus water. We use light there as our energy, and we get out oxygen and glucose. So that's our photosynthesis equation. It's the class equation we hopefully all know. So on this side of our word equation, these are what we call our reactants. They're the things we need for the reaction to occur. There are reactants. On the right hand side, we've got our products, the things we've produced from this chemical reaction. We've produced these products, okay? So, let's now go on to linking this to fuels and how we use fuels. So, if we were to burn fuels, that would be called combustion. Okay, so to burn a fuel, you need some energy to start with, to start the reaction. That could be something like a spark or a flame, and that provides the initial energy. Once you then have that energy, the combustion will begin. You begin to burn your fuel, and that would now mean that the fuel, which was a chemical store of energy, is now releasing energy to its surroundings. So combustion means that this fuel that was the chemical store of energy is now transferring energy to surroundings. So this could be in the form of heat. So heat in surroundings, and light energy. So that would be an example of something called an exothermic reaction, which I'm not going to go into here. So that's combustion. So let's do an example of combustion. Okay. So an example of combustion could be using a fuel like methane, which is a gas that we can burn, okay? Methane. So if we have methane, we all should know for combustion to occur, we're going to need oxygen. Okay? So this is looking now at the word equation of combustion. For a fire, you need oxygen, don't you? If you don't have the oxygen, the fire will go out, the combustion will stop, and that's why you have fire blankets and things, or you have fire extinguishers, which are to prevent oxygen getting to the fire. So we have methane plus oxygen. If you remember, we called those our reactants, or like in our photosynthesis equation, we called them our reactants. So our products, what do we get from our products? Well, from combustion, our products are water plus carbon dioxide. So these are our reactants. Those are our reactants, and these are our products here, the things we produced. Okay, and now remember, we needed a flame or a spark to start this reaction off. the thing that the store of our energy here was the methane. That was our fuel, okay? But we need the oxygen as part of the other reactant to then produce the water and the carbon dioxide. But also remember, we're also releasing out heat and light energy here, which is the whole point of doing the combustion reaction a lot of the time. So we release the heat and the light energy. So what is methane an example of as a fuel? Methane is an example of what we call a hydrocarbon. A hydrocarbon fuel is one that is made up of hydrogen and carbon. Okay, so the examples of things like that are things like fossil fuels, like you might have heard of. Fossil fuels like coal, oil and gas, which I'm not going to go into how they're all produced, but fossil fuels are all from dead sea creatures, dead organisms, dead plants from millions of years ago, which develop into fossil fuels. So coal, oil and gas are another example of hydrocarbons. There are lots of other hydrocarbons as well, methane being the one of them. And that is combustion and how it releases energy. Okay, the last thing we need to look at here is how would you test for these products of combustion. So there's two tests we need to do. One, from carbon dioxide, we would do the lime water test. So you have lime water in a test tube. If you were to put carbon dioxide bubbles into the test tube, you would see the lime water change colour. It would go from clear, and if carbon dioxide is present, it will go to a milky white. What about water or other product of combustion? For water, we would use something called cobalt chloride paper. And that would turn from blue into a pale pink. So blue to a pink.